Hey, this is Matt Cassel from the 33rd team. Right now, joining me is one of the best defensive ends to ever play in the National Football League. He was the fifth fastest player to reach 100 sacks in his career. In 7 seasons, he had over double-digit sacks, one of those being 22 sacks in one season. But the first question that I got to have for you, this is Jared Allen, by the way. How do you feel about Michael Strahan being the all-time sack leader at 22 and a half sacks, a half sack above you, when Brett Favre fell down and basically gave him the sack? Should there be an asterisk next to Strahan's record?
No asterisk, simply for the fact that a sack is a sack, right? You can't help what the quarterback does. My only argument to that, though, is I had my 23rd sack taken away from me Monday Night Football against Aaron Rodgers. He caught the ball. He ran into the back of Newhouse, dropped the ball, picked it back up, tried to scramble. I sacked him, sacked. Wednesday, the league takes the sack from me, calls it a muff, and says it's a team sack. But technically, I'm on the team. So I should get at least a half of that sack.
You should at least get a half a sack.
To me. So even at the very minimum, I should have it with 23, or we should be tied at 22 and a half, because it was a physical sack taken from me on a Wednesday. Look it up. Rodgers reminds me of it every time I see it.
It doesn't seem like you're bitter about it at all. I mean, it seems like you've come to peace with it. I'm just saying.
The team got credit. The team got credit for a sack. Am I not a part of that team? How did I not get a piece of that?
Everybody should have got a sack. You can't just take it from you, but they did. So unfortunately, you still had a phenomenal season. Recently, Jared, you were inducted into the Vikings Ring of Honor, and it was obviously an incredible celebration for you. What did it mean for you, your family? But more importantly, also, after you answer that question, is you had one of the more unique ceremonies that I've ever seen. You rode into the stadium in front of 75,000 people on a horse. Now I have to get to the bottom of this. Was it your horse? Was it a horse that was for rent? How did you know that was going to go? Were you scared? I mean, dude, who rides in on a horse like that? Only you could pull this thing off.
Asked me if I'd be willing to ride a horse in, right? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then months go by and we don't talk about it. So I just figured it wasn't happening. So then I get a call that Monday saying, hey, you still willing to ride a horse in? And I was like, we're late in the game now. I'm like, what horse? I need videos of this horse.
Exactly.
And then if it can't be there Saturday for a pre-run, like I'm not riding, care how well a broken animal is. Coming into an arena with 80,000 screaming people, like no one's ready for that, right?
Right.
So
100%.
They were like, they sent me all these videos. It was a ranch from Minnesota. This horse actually came up from Florida where he was being trained. And he got there Saturday, so we did a run through Saturday, blasting crowd noise. It was like getting him ready for game day, right? Blasting crowd noise.
That's so good. They actually had crowd noise.
Oh yeah, we had to wait. We had to wait for Greenway had a charity event that afternoon, so we had to wait for that to get over. So they're blasting music, blasting crowd noise. I'm taking them all over the field. So I went in there, rode for about an hour and a half, just getting used to the horse. We kind of did the run through and everything. And come game day, I still felt confident. Listen, here's what I told Amy. My wife and daughters were a little nervous. I think everybody was a little nervous.
I don't
say this to brag, but I don't say this to brag. Like, I'm very confident in my abilities to ride a horse. There's not an animal out there I don't think I can ride, right? Or should say horse.
Right.
But when I told them, I was like, just so you guys know, like, don't worry about me. If things get Western out here, this isn't going to be a good look for anybody.
For you guys.
Especially this horse.
This was the worst idea we ever had.
I'm going to tuck that horse's tail to his butt, and we're going to be running in circles, and I'm just going to be gigging him until he wears himself out. So I'm like, we're gonna figure this one out. But it ended up working out great. Coolio was the horse's name. He actually just sold at auction down in Vegas. Beautiful Frisian horse. I'd never ridden a Frisian before either, so that was a whole new ball game to me. But it turned out to be majestic, and I feel like there was no better way to do it. And so hats off to the creative team over there in Minnesota to come up with that and then put it into action. And it was such a special day. Honestly, I think when it was all over and Amy and the girls and I got to sit back and just kind of take it in, it was really cool. I'm not one to live in the past, but to sit there and have my girls kind of fully appreciate what I did. Our kids were young when we were playing, so they didn't really get to fully appreciate, what we were doing, what we accomplished. And so to have them be a part of that was special. And, to them to be like, why do all these people want to talk to you? Like, this is just my dad. I'm just dad. I got some extra cool points. They think I'm famous now, which they have no clue that I'm not. I'm just in Minnesota. People like me. So what a tremendous honor. It was a great weekend. Tiring, but a great weekend.
That's amazing. Yeah, when you look at this organization too with the Vikings, right? They're sitting at 10-2 right now. They've got an opportunity to clinch the division against Detroit this weekend. And Kevin O'Connell, the job that he's done coming into this organization and really turning the tide and where they're at, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And we have a lot of these discussions together about, like, philosophically, you got to get buy-in, you got to create a culture that guys believe in. Talk about the job that he's done and where this team is right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was a skeptic. I mean, you would have told me in the beginning of the year, I would have been like, not a chance. Like, how hard it is for even the best coach to take over a new team and try to, create continuity, like you said, in this belief system. So I think it's a testament to, not only Kevin's coaching ability, his ability to build out a staff, and then Quasi, the GM, I think his ability to work with and take, because he's an analytics guy. So to take the analytics and apply it, applicably in football standards is huge, because people are either or. They're either football or analytics, right? So I think they've done 100%. A great job, and they have a trust in each other that they can, that they're marrying that combination. And so that's worked great. Kevin, to get to know him, his personality, obviously the players are going to, be drawn to that. He's a super chill guy. But I think it also goes to the organization, like I said, who they brought in player-wise. And to take guys and to have them switch it to a complete defensive system, and then to have this finding a way to win mentality and having this belief system early, I mean, it is incredible what they've done. Again, I think you got to give your hat off to the coaching staff and the Vikings organization, but you got to tip your hat to the players, because, as you know, it can be hard, and you can look for reasons to not have early success, or not to have success. So, they go in, they win a couple games, and they get stomped out by Philly, right? And you can easily turn the tide and be like, well, here we go again. And they didn't. They've stuck through, and it's incredible. So I'm very impressed. They made a believer out of me. And I think, and you got to, like I said, you got to give credit to everybody's willingness, right? The coaches have to give a lot, and so do the players. And so, they found a magical formula, and hopefully it sustains.
Yeah, hopefully it sustains. Hopefully they finish this thing strong and gets in the playoff. And so anything can happen, baby, once you get into the playoff run. So, go for it.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that loss to Dallas was great for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can start believing your own hype. That's the other issue with the new regime. Such early success. Right now, no one can tell me what to do. So you get your butt whooped at home by Dallas. I think that re-humbles you, and you realize, like, okay, let's get back to our ways, right, of grinding it out and just finding ways to win and really, that way the league doesn't buy your hype and you don't buy your own hype, and now you're set to make another run.
Yeah, you're always humbled in the league, dude. That's the craziest part from one week to the next. Like, you could be on the greatest roll, but all of a sudden you step into a game that you get a little overconfident and you get humbled real quick. And that's exactly what happened in Dallas. But that's the wake-up call sometimes those teams need, really, at this point in the season going into playoffs, because that's what changes your mentality, refocuses you, and gets you ready to rock and roll. So you're 100% correct. I want to move on. Now, sooner than later, bro, the Hall of Fame's coming your way, right? You're one of the most dominant defensive ends to ever play the game. When you do get inducted, which it's going to happen, what would it mean to you to be in that Pro Football Hall of Fame amongst the greatest that ever played the game? And in addition to that, have you put any thought into who would it actually induct you into the Hall of Fame and really introduce you?
Oh, man. So I'll answer the second part first. I have not put much thought into that. I mean, obviously it'd be cool like if my old man did it, but he would just end up telling like life stories that have nothing to do with football about how like he kicked my ass when I was 8 or something like that. So can't go that route.
Yeah, you probably deserve that. You definitely deserve that.
So, I haven't put any thought into that. A couple really, I had one, obviously I've had a bunch of influential people throughout my career. You don't have success like that without it.
Right.
Bob Carmelo was one. He passed away, but so I haven't put a lot of thought into that. But the thought of I've had plenty of time, seeing how I've been told no twice now on the Hall of Fame. I've had plenty of time to think about what it would mean to me when I get in, or if I get in, and it would mean the world to me. Honestly, I think it's going to be the single greatest honor. I think I always say it's a surreal feeling because you're getting judged and you're getting rewarded for something I did so long ago, right? But it's also refreshing, and it's also so we're looking. It kind of gives you this sense of approval, like for yourself to know, like, you know what, I did it the right way, right? Like you kind of get this like pat on the back saying like you did it the right way. Your body of work stands the test of time. So I mean, these are all guys I watched growing up. I got fortunate to play against a lot of the guys recently that have gone to the Hall. So I just think it'll be one of those deals. Like I won't truly know the magnitude of it until I'm in that moment. But at the end of the day, too, one person once told me like it'll change your life, and that's one thing it won't do, right? And that's one thing I can honestly say is brightly or strongly and proudly as I'll wear that badge, right? That gold jacket and just like the purple jacket with the Ring of Honor, as much as it means to me and as cool as it is, at the end of the day, it's not going to change my wife loving me any more or less. It's not going to change the fact that Christ loves me any more or less. My kids, they still chores are going to have to do. I'm still going to be the third base coach, when I get called on. You know what I mean? So it's not, life is still going to be life, but it's going to be one of those moments where I think you get to reflect back and just be like, man, like, kind of like, job well done. You kind of finished that race. I've never felt like I arrived, and I'll be honest, when I get in the Hall of Fame, I'm going to feel like I arrived a little bit.
You're going to feel like you arrived. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll respect you a little bit more if you get that gold jacket. Okay. I'll give you a little bit more credit. I might even buy you a few beers. And I keep thinking back because I know they show those highlights of your career and all that stuff. And I think when we were teammates in the Vikings, and I always felt, and I have nightmares about it, that I probably would have made your highlight film. The last game in the Metrodome, and a lot of people don't know that you also lined up at tight end. You had a few touchdown receptions, all this stuff, but it's last game in the Metrodome. We call a boot pass. I'm coming out. Jared Allen's playing tight end. He's in the back of the end zone, wide open. I mean, nobody around you. And I see you. I was like, oh my God, he's wide open. And I like wanted to aim the ball because you're so wide open, and I throw it and I overthrow you. And I have never lived that down. Every time I see you, I think of it. Every time I see you, remind me of it. At that moment, was it hatred that you had for me? Was it you thought about maybe physical altercation? What did you feel at that moment?
Well, my first thought, honestly, was that I did something wrong because I was so wide open.
You did. You didn't catch it.
I didn't want to run myself into coverage, right? So I kind of started slowing down along the back line, and then I see you getting chased, and you heave it. I'm like, oh. So I tried to speed back up. I'm like, man, maybe I should have laid out. Maybe I had a chance.
Oh my gosh.
So, but no, it was more sadness because I was just like, wow. Well, there goes my perfect catch to touchdown ratio. And then, one of my my last touchdown I got caught with the Chiefs was against the Lions, right? So last year with the Chiefs, I caught one against the Lions. I also had 2 sacks against that game. So I'm like, man, this is like, deja vu here. I got 2 sacks. Dang near almost had a pick to the house. And I'm like, I'm going to cap it off with this touchdown. And,
it would have been sweet.
And it didn't happen. And to be honest, I wasn't even thinking about that at first because I was not anticipating them putting a linebacker over me, like man pressing me,
right.
When I came in. So all I was thinking was like, oh, don't get jammed up, like don't get thrown to the ground and just ruin this play. So at the end of the day, I was like, well, it wasn't my fault. It's Cassel's fault. And
it's Cassel's fault. I'll take full blame. And also, like I said, I forever apologize for that. Someday I'll be able to make it up to you. When you think about I think a lot of people think about the defensive line position. They think that you guys just, you're physically superior gifted athletes that go out and just, you don't do a lot of film study. You go out there and you win because you're just better than the opposing, offensive tackle. But there's a lot more that go into it. And I remember for the Vikings, at least, I get there the first offseason. I come out, we get done with an offseason workout, and you go out and you start hitting the bags, right? You're hitting the bags, you're boxing, you're doing that, using your hands. So that's the physical aspect. But talk about your film study and what went into it mentally on a weekly preparation for a particular opponent and what gave you the edge, because it's not just there's a lot of physically gifted people out there, but it's, I think, the mental aspect of the game that separates the elite.
You're 100% right on that. And that's the difference, right? This is what I tell young kids. The importance of the mental and the film study is to how quick can you recognize something to use your physical attributes to your advantage, right?
Right.
You can be the strongest, fastest, quickest, but if you can't recognize pass, if you can't get off the block, if you can't understand situational football, then you don't. The offense that has the advantage. The defense, we're reactionary, right? So we have to find every way we can to try to dictate and make the offensive line reactionary. You got to flip the script, and then you have to understand how to process your failures and gather that information to set yourself up for your victories. And so, I had one of my first coach in the league, Bob Kramelowitz, D-line coach. He used to say, if you win 1 out of every 17 rushes, you'll lead the league in sacks. So you'll have like 15 or 16 sacks a year, right? But what do you do with your 16 failures to set you up for your 1 victory? And so that's where we come about processing information, right? How do I get this offensive tackle into a rhythm and then break his rhythm? What tells can I pick up? So film study is huge because I want to know my success rate, or I want to hedge my bet and increase my probability of success before I even step foot on that field, right? So I know if a guy's a rhythmic puncher, I'm going to go in and I'm going to hand fight. I know if a guy's a floater, okay, now I gotta do things with my alignment, right? I got to play this internal game. How do I stop his inside number? I got to stop his inside foot. So a lot, that's the understanding of, with pass rushing, you're actually defeating the inside half of the man. The outside half just happens to be there.
Right.
Understanding QB launch points goes into it, right? So if a quarterback that's going to sit back, or a quarterback that's going to sit at 5 yards, totally different rush lanes, totally different rush patterns. Understanding escape points, right? So there's this whole game within the game, and trying to force the offensive line, trying to force him into what I want to do, try to show him the same type of thing, or I should say, do the same thing from a different package, right? I'm going to present something slightly different, but I might have the exact same rush. So yeah, there's just so many different levels that go into it. Oh, hold on. Old man just wandering aimlessly. See, you got to be alert and aware all the time, Matt.
You got to be able to process, man.
Got to be able to process, multitask. But that's what really it comes down to. So film study, you'll see the guys at any level in the NFL, right? They might be crazy gifted, but I will argue that they are crazy smart, right? They understand, well, at least within the realm of football, and they have a preparation that they go through. They have a routine that they go through. They have things that they have to have a knowledge of before you go into a game, right? And so that's what it was for me. It was because if I can pick up on off an offensive lineman's tell and be like, okay, well, now I know when it's play action based off of his stance. Well, now I win, right? Now my probability of winning goes from 50% to 75%. If I can look at it off, if it looks like it's Max Pro, or you're thinking like, crap, they got in this certain formation that they're offset eye with wings away, you're like, okay, well that's typically their pass set. So now I can increase my alignment and get on the edge and create a bad match for the tight ends. So that's what it's about, right? It's about finding those tendencies, finding those tells, finding those identification markers, that you can increase your probability of winning. And that's what football is. Football is made up of 11 individual battles, right? And then you got to cohesively do that together as a team. So yeah, that's what I love about pass rush, right? It's an art form, and it's this mind game, and how to try to manipulate another person's body and put them where you want, and while they're trying to do the same thing to you. So that's what you love about it. It's violent, it's fast, you're thinking, it hits all sensory levels, so to speak.
Gosh, that was such a good breakdown, dude. It's amazing. And I love the education part of it because, again, like I said, most people just think, they look at the defensive line and be like, look, they just rush the passer. That's what they do. But there's so much more that goes into it. Now, I know at this part of your life, right, you had your passion, you played football for 12 years, all that stuff. But now you're on to a bigger endeavor. And it's a passion that's come about, really, over the last 4 years, you started – a premier sport that takes a lot of athleticism, a lot of processing, curling. Talk to us about how your professional curling career is going. What are you doing, and what is the ultimate goal of going out in curling? Tell us all about it. I mean, people need to hear about what you're doing.
I took a bet a few years back from a buddy to try to make the Olympics, right? So I chose curling to try to do it at.
Why did you choose curling? Did you think that was just watching it on television? It was just something I could do that.
Well, I chose badminton. I tried to pick sports we weren't very good at, or had a lot of success at. So I chose badminton, and then I was like, "Ooh, that looks way too athletic for me."
That looks really intense.
And then I was like, well, curling, I'm like, at this time we'd only won like a bronze, I think. And, Schuster and them were about ready to get ran off the ice, and then all of a sudden they make this miraculous comeback and they win gold. And I look like the world's biggest jerk for saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to just jump in and go to be an Olympian as a curler. But by that time I was already too far down the rabbit hole to give up. And so, me, once I'm in, I'm all in.
Right.
I had to support the wife and kids, and I was like, all right, let's do it. And so the pandemic hit, kind of put a wrench in that. Teams changed. I was an alternate at the a few years back at nationals, and my team got a silver medal there, so I actually have a silver medal for nationals curling.
Come on.
Then I played with another team nationals a couple years back, and then this year we reformulated our team, moved two of them here to Nashville. Got some money. I was like, I pay these guys to curl now. I'm like, you guys, we curl all the time. You guys are professional athletes now. This is what it's going to take to go to the Olympics. So our short-term goal was to qualify on points alone this year to nationals. I think we've acquired that. I think we sit like 4th or 5th in the country right now. With that said, there's only like 10 teams. But we played. Our team has played in Switzerland, all over Canada. We beat some of the top-ranked teams in the world. So it's a fun journey. But the ultimate goal is the Olympics in Italy, and what I think is that 2026. So yeah, I'm down the rabbit hole. I am all the way down. I'm all the way in. We got one meet coming up in Evelyn, Minnesota here next weekend, and then one in Arizona late January. Then nationals will be in Denver mid-February. So you know what? All I'm saying is the world does not want me to win a national championship curling medal, because then I get to go to Worlds and represent, and they have to deal with this guy.
They got to deal with the flow, the salad in the back. Real quick. So are you what position do you play, or do you have to play all positions? I don't totally understand. Are you one of those guys that do the broom and like, go? Like,
that is
what
the
are
universal sign for sweeping. Everybody does this. So I either play lead or second. So I either throw the first set of 2 stones or the second set of stones. So everybody on your team throws 2 stones, right? And then you
have to throw the stone.
Rotate. Yes, the only person that's not sweeping is your skip, the guy down by the bullseye calling the shots.
Okay.
So like when I'm throwing, or whoever's throwing lead, the second and third will sweep those 2 stones, right? So then when second throws, the lead and third will throw, and vice versa. So you just rotate around that. So I play the front end, either lead or second. Then we have Jason Smith, he's our skip. He was a 2010 Olympian. Dominic Markey's our third. He was a bronze medalist with the Swiss in 2018 at the Olympics, and now he's a U.S. citizen. Hunter Clausen, he's our either our lead or our second, depending on where we're playing. He plays the front end with me. He won a national championship in juniors. And then there's me. I'm just the most competitive human being on the face of the earth, and I go out there and I get it done.
The real question is, how many muscles or groin pulls have you had getting in that stance, which I watch all the time, where you got to like thrust out, but you got to get basically in a split position.
Not like that. Yeah.
But,
No, I haven't pulled anything doing that. Like sweeping, I feel like I can't move for like a week after tournament sweeping. The worst injury I've had lately is I pulled my hamstring. I missed this last tournament because I pulled my hamstring on Thanksgiving dancing with the kids. I thought I could still drop it into like the Michael Jackson splits and pop it back up.
You gotta drop it like it's hot, bro.
I cannot. On the way back up, my hamstring popped. So I've been nursing that, and I don't think I missed maybe 2 games my entire NFL career for injury. I missed the curling tournament because I pulled a hamstring.
You're getting older, friend. You're getting, and then the last 2 questions I have. One, are you always the biggest person in the arena when you walk into curling and most intimidating? Yes. And then 2, do you wear like a onesie ski outfit, like really tighten it up?
I wish we could. I wanted to wear like, the like Adidas, snap off basketball pants that has some John Stockton's on, where like almost like a testicles like almost hanging out when you're going on the ice. But you're not allowed to wear shorts in curling. So instead, I reached out to some friends at Ariat. They hooked us up with some dope jackets. We all wear Lululemon pants because they're stretchy. It's very classy. You're not allowed to talk crap. It's like in the spirit of curling, but I give people the eyes. That's
gonna be hard. That's gonna be hard for you.
Well, when I first started playing, I used ignorance to a bliss, so I'd cut in front of people all the time. I might slightly bump into them, but oh, my bad, I didn't realize. Now I've been around long enough, right? I can't really be a jerk. But the younger kids, when we play them, I'm like, I was like, it sucks to be here today.
It's on, baby. It's on. Well, buddy, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time out to join the 33rd team. You're the best, and I can't wait to hear more about where you take this curling team. It's going to be awesome.
Well, we will keep you fully abreast, my friend. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got it, brother. See you.